Hi everyone, and welcome to our final episode, episode 6 of Imagine Cup Junior as part of our DreamSpace HomeSpace series. My name's Amanda, and joining me today is Corey.
Hi everyone.
And as I said, we're on to our final episode now, episode 6, after looking across the weeks at all the things AI has to offer, AI for Good has to offer, and then hopefully in the hope that you guys after today will really have a really good idea of how to submit your project. But before we do that, let's just quickly, briefly touch on those different areas we looked at. So just to refresh the memories that you can say, okay, I know now what to include in my project because we've looked at all of these different areas. So in our first webinar, we looked at the fundamentals of AI. So Corey, if you remember, we were looking at our formula for AI, weren't we? So we were saying it was, you know, our data sets and our algorithms and our machine learning. And we kind of wanted to just make sure people understood, didn't we, the kind of what was behind the foundations of it.
Exactly, like what makes AI.
Yeah, and what makes it work. And so we did that in the first webinar, just kind of skimmed the surface of all those things, did a few demos each week as well, and hopefully that helped. In our second webinar, we looked at machine learning, and I suppose this was the first of two parts of looking at machine learning, because again, this was kind of, remember, machine learning is a subset nearly of AI. And then as we go into further on then with machine learning, we entered another area, which we'll talk about in a second. But we looked at basically how does machine learning work, what does it do, how does it assist with AI? And again, we used demos from Microsoft, looking at our cognitive services and things to kind of show how these things actually worked and how they can be used really, really effectively. Our third webinar, then we looked at a subset of machine learning. So this is, we were kind of drilling down each webinar at the start, and we looked at something called deep learning. And remember, that was when I got very excited as a biology teacher because we were looking at neural networks, didn't I, Corey?
Yeah, you were loving it.
Yeah. And we looked at neural networks and we looked at different things. Corey talked about APIs and cloud computing. And again, it was just to make sure that we had a really good feel for this whole area and really what is possible when we know about these things. In our fourth webinar, we looked at then the AI for Good pillars. So remember, this was important because your project has to be based on one of those 4 pillars that we talked about. So the 4 pillars we looked at were AI for Good, AI for Accessibility, AI for Humanitarian Action, and AI for Cultural Heritage. And we looked at those pillars and we gave little examples, but we gave examples that we have already. And remember, we want you to come up with your own example. So that's what we wanted. And then last week, what we looked at was design thinking and really thinking about our problems. So Corey, last week you showed a decision tree, didn't you?
Yep, I did. And I explained that it was a really good tool when you're trying to delve into your problems and what were the causes of those problems.
Yeah, and because we talked about it, and like even ourselves, Corey, we were saying like when you think of something, it's always really big, and actually that might be impossible to do. So sometimes you have to start smaller, don't you, and kind of drill down a little bit. So yeah, so that was kind of where we got to. So today then, what we want to look at is the last 2 aspects, I suppose, that are going to be important for you before you actually go and get your project submitted by your teachers. And that is to make sure that you're covering over that your AI project is ethical. So there's ethical principles we wanted to make sure you're aware of and talk about them so that when you go back to your project after today, you go, okay, I need to check, are these principles included? And then the other thing you need to do is just know how to submit your project and what's important about that project. So Corey's going to take us through the rubric and the marking scheme so that you can see very, very clearly kind of how marks are awarded. And obviously you want to aim to get the top marks, so you'll be able to shape your project appropriately that way. Okay, so last week, as I said, we were doing design thinking and we kind of made our way from step 1 on this list to step 4, and we were left with 5 and 6. So number 5 was to check the Microsoft AI principles and ethics. So that's what we are going to do now. So the ethics of AI in Microsoft, we have 6 ethics that we just have to double check there, and 6 ethics that we want to talk about, or 6 ethical principles, I suppose, that kind of help shape and help us really check on our AI services. So we want you to do the same with your project, okay? Now, before I go into what they are and we talk around them, we'll just watch a quick video about why these are important and why we in Microsoft really rely on these to guide us and shape our decisions. So we're going to watch a quick video just to help see why responsible AI and ethical AI is important, and we'll talk about that afterwards, okay?
We believe in the potential of AI to improve our lives in big and small ways. We need to make sure it's for the benefit of everyone.
For the first time, we're having machines move into roles that have been the roles of human beings. Might these technologies have inadvertent effects on people and society? Do they align with people's values, their ethics? We needed to think through the implications for our company.
Responsible AI is the approach that we take to developing and deploying our technology, making sure our principles are brought to life in that it empowers everyone and is inclusive and accessible for people. Excellent! The job of the Office of Responsible AI is to put our principles into practice by operationalizing ethics across the company.
The Ethics Committee is responsible for deliberating about hard, new questions.
We are sister organizations.
We have to think through what it means to detect bias, make our systems more fair, to detect errors and blind spots in our technologies, and on thinking through the kinds of advice we give to other organizations and to our leaders where technology can impose on privacy and human rights. Responsibility is at the core. We're learning every day about this new role of responsible computing.
We need to translate academic thought to language that our engineers and salespeople are familiar with. Our customers are grappling with many of the same issues. It's incumbent on us to share what we learn.
It's about trying to do better every day, working with our customers and outside agencies to develop processes and deliver responsible computing technologies to the world.
Okay. So we can see responsible AI and ethical AI is very important to what we do, and it's something we always have to keep checking in with as this technology evolves. So there's six ethics principles that we want to talk about that were kind of quickly, actually, I don't know if you spotted them, Corey, but they popped up on the screen there as we went. And what we have is the first one. So the first one that was up there on the screen was fairness. So basically thinking about how this technology is going to treat people, and what you want to make sure is that this AI technology treats people fairly and equally. So what that really means is that you're eliminating bias. And we want to be aware that there could be bias involved in the technology, and make sure actually looking out for that and making sure that we get rid of it if it is present. And that's kind of, I suppose, the best way to try and ensure that is to make sure that this technology is informed from as many people as possible. So that includes making sure you have a really diverse kind of opinion set and data set, I suppose, so that it trains the AI properly without any bias. And also potentially actually being able to use the technology nearly to find if there is bias within the data sets or anything like that as well. And then also just through iterating and going back through the technology over and over again, you probably will find little kind of shortcomings and maybe be able to eliminate any bias as you go too. So that will ensure a really fair and equal approach that the technology has then. The second one is reliability and safety. And obviously this is of the utmost importance. You want to know that whatever you're using is safe, and that you're protected, that your data set that you've used to train again has come from safe sources and reliable sources. Corey, we actually talked about that, I think maybe in the first webinar. I think we talked about the source of our data, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah. And we kind of went over as well last week, I think, how important it was to make sure the data that you do gather is from a reliable source.
Yeah, so that's another one that we want to make sure that you know about as well. And that you can check your data source and reference it as well. Testing also. So if you want to know is something reliable, well, if you keep testing, we always say, Corey, don't we, test, yeah. Whether it's with coding or whether it's something you're building, keep testing it, keep trying it in different ways, and see, is it standing up to the task and is it reliable and safe? Now, obviously, again, with your project, you don't have to have built out this, but be thinking about these things and be thinking about how can we make sure it is reliable and safe, okay? The third one that we want to look at is privacy and security. So obviously you want to respect everyone's privacy. And there's lots of privacy laws in the world, like for example, GDPR that we hear of in the EU, that's a privacy law. So there's lots there that can actually guide us in terms of privacy and security as well, and making sure that we are in line with those laws, that we're not leaving ourselves short. The fourth one then is inclusiveness. So obviously you want to again make sure that this technology empowers everyone. It helps everyone, that there isn't barriers with this technology for people, say, who have a disability to use it, that it's actually really accessible. And that's really important. It should enhance opportunities for everyone, not just one minority or one group of people. So making sure that you factor that in as well. Okay, across then all of this, we have transparency. So AI systems should be easy to understand. They should be transparent. So what we mean by that is, even if in the back end we have lots of engineers and we have lots of programmers working on this, that actually for a user, for someone who's just at the other end using this technology, they should know exactly how it's working. They should know the systems in place. They should know how their data is being used, and that it's very, very clear to them what this is for, that there's a purpose to this, and basically that then they trust that, because they know that you've been really open and really transparent with your approach with this technology as well. And what's useful with transparency as well is if the user can somehow give feedback, because what will keep this honest and really transparent is if the user can flag something and say, this is incorrect, or I'm not happy with this, I feel like this could be slightly biased. And that in that way, because the user feels they have a voice, that keeps it very transparent as well. Okay, and lastly, number 6 is accountability, which again is across all of these things. So AI systems should be responsible. And remember, if we're the ones, and if you're the one designing this technology, you're accountable for that. That's your technology. So you need to make sure that you've really thought it through, that your algorithms, everything that's been put in place, the data that's been used, make sure that you realize this is accountable for you. You have that accountability for this, okay? And be able to stand over it and go, I've thought about all of these things, and I know this is a good design and a good piece of technology that will help, okay? So there are principles. So when you have them, hopefully you have a grip of them now, what you could do is just to kind of make sure when you go back to your project, and you can pause now if you want with the webinar, you could go and write your ethical statements, which would basically be, say, we believe our AI concept is whatever it is, so fair, reliable, safe, whatever word, and because. So there's just an example on the screen there for fairness, okay? So what you can do is, if you want to pause now, I'll leave that one up as well so you can have a read through that, but you can actually write your own. So we believe our AI concept is fair, we believe it's inclusive, and that might actually, if you write them out, that might really help you shape what you want to include in your project submission. And you'll see actually later, Corey, you're going to show the rubric, and these ethicals, or the ethics, I suppose, are part of the grading, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
So when you see that from Corey, you'll see how important these things are to have really thought about. If you exclude this, you're losing a chunk of marks because it's actually part of the marking scheme. Okay. So as I said, pause now, think about your project, think about where these ethics will now sit. And if you have some shortcomings, which is absolutely fine because we've just gone through them now, go back and address them. So think about it. For example, you didn't think about the fact that maybe someone with a disability might need to use your technology and therefore it might not be fully inclusive. Then maybe go back and think about what you can now add to it to make sure it is. So use this now to inform and guide you as you go back through your project. Okay, Corey, I'm going to hand over to you if that's okay, and we're on the last stretch now, guys. Everyone can be brought through how to submit their projects.
Brilliant. Okay, so this is exciting. We're at the part now where we're finally ready to submit our projects. Woo! Okay, so if you're feeling good about your idea, now is time to get ready to submit. All right, so we are going to go through how to prepare your project submission. Okay, so it can be a Microsoft Word document or a PDF document, but no more than 8 pages. Okay, or if you would rather, you could do it in a PowerPoint presentation, but just make sure that it's no longer than 10 slides. Then your project submission should have a title page or a title slide. So if I was doing a title page, what I usually include on it is like the date, my name, the project title. It just kind of is something that's like a cover page to let the person know what they're about to be reading. Then make sure that you have a table of contents, because if you're going to have 8 pages, they're probably going to be on different topics. So just make sure you have a table of contents at the start so the person knows what's on what page. And then you're going to identify which AI for Good initiative that you chose. So remember, it can be AI for Earth, AI for Humanitarian Action, Accessibility, or Cultural Heritage. State your problem, okay? And this is an important one because this is what your whole project is going to be about, okay? So make sure that when you state your problem, it can be clearly identified. And then summarize your research and list the resources you or your team use to help understand the problem. Okay, so this would be all your data that you've actually researched and all the sources that you used. Then you're going to describe how your final project solves the problem. Okay, and it gives an example here. So it says, for example, it might create something that will eventually lead to a solution, or it might improve a service that addresses a real world problem, or it might communicate a message to an audience that's actually responsible for addressing that real world problem. Then you're going to tell how your project idea is ethical. And Amanda just went through all the ethics there with you, the 6 of them. Okay, so just make sure that you include them because, as we said, there is marks going for it. Creatively show how your final project engages the problem and why the solution is needed. So we're really looking for creativity here, aren't we, Amanda? We want to see how creative you can be. And then describe the format of the final project and how it uses AI, so how it uses artificial intelligence. And remember, we went through all of this a couple of weeks ago. We talked through all the different AIs. We talked about facial recognition, didn't we? And voice assistance and sentiment analysis.
All the cognitive services, and people can still, obviously everyone can go back to them, Corey, if they want to refresh their memory on the cognitive service, the vision, the speech, the decision options, have a look at them and see, can they inform and help? And actually you can go and say, we're going to use one of them, you know, we're going to plug one of those in to our project. Exactly.
So now, how will you be marked? Okay, everyone's favorite question. So here we have the rubric, okay? So you're going to get 3 marks for each of these, okay? So for innovation, so how original is the idea, okay? Has it been used before? Does it already exist? So you're going to get 1 mark if it's not an innovative idea because it already is in existence in the world. You'll get 2 marks out of 3 if the idea shows some innovation. So maybe the idea is already there, but you're bringing about some new concepts. And then you'll get full marks if the idea is exceptionally innovative, okay? So it's likely to be a new idea. Then buildability, okay? So there's 3 marks going for buildability. So how realistic is it that this concept can be built in the next 10 years? So you'll get 1 mark if it's quite unlikely that it can be built out in the next 10 years. You'll get 2 marks if it has potential to be built. And you'll get full marks if it absolutely can definitely be built out in the next 10 years. Potential for impact, okay, so there's 3 marks going for this. So does the idea have potential for scale? And Amanda talks about this by either impacting people or the environment in a powerful way. So 1 mark going for the impact is minimal because the AI idea is not scalable, okay? You're getting 2 marks for there's potential for impact and the idea is somewhat scalable, and full marks going for it's definitely scalable. And the last one on this slide is presentation of the idea. So how effective and creative has the idea been and how has the team presented it? So you're going to get 1 mark if it was difficult to understand and it lacked a bit of creativity. You're going to get 2 marks for if you presented it in a clear way and it was creative. And you're getting full marks for it was exceptionally clear and it was really creative. Now, onto the ethics, because you're getting marked on these. So each of these are worth half a mark, okay? So fairness, and remember we went through all of these just a couple of minutes ago. So if you want to rewind and go through all these again, just so you know where the marks are going. So fairness, AI systems treat all people fairly. So unfortunately, you'll get no marks if people are being excluded, okay? But you'll get half a mark if we can see that you're striving to accept people, and you'll get your full mark if it is very effective and it accepts all people. Inclusiveness, so AI systems empower everyone, okay, and engage people. Unfortunately, you'll get no marks if you don't consider empowerment and engagement of everyone. You'll get half a mark if your AI idea in some ways or another is aiming to consider everyone. And you'll get full marks if it is very effective and considers everybody, okay? Reliability and safety. So is your AI system reliable? Okay, so do people think it's safe to use? And unfortunately, no marks are going for if you don't consider the safety of others. You're getting half a mark if you have somewhat considered the reliability and safety of others, and you're getting a full mark if, well, a full half mark, if the idea is very effective and it maximizes the safety of others. Now, privacy and security, and Amanda just talked about this again a couple of minutes ago, didn't you, about GDPR and data protection, and you know, privacy is so important. So has your AI system been secure and does it respect other people's privacy? So unfortunately, no marks are going for if it doesn't show any source of respect for privacy. You're getting half a mark if it has potential to be secure and respect privacy, and a full mark for it's very likely to be impactful and respect people's privacies. Now, remember, when it comes to the project submission, you're going to need a teacher to submit this for you, okay? So we went through this last week again. So if you want to go back last week and have a look at, Amanda actually showed you how the teacher could go about submitting the form online, didn't you?
Yeah, I showed the profile, so I had a screenshot of it, but it's very straightforward. When they create the account, when the teacher creates the account on here, they have a profile, and then literally on the landing page of that profile, it says submit a project. So if you as a student share your project with your teacher, you share your PowerPoint, your PDF, or your Word document, they literally can just attach it in like they could attach a file to an email and submit it on your behalf. Perfect.
So again, the link is just on the screen there if you want to pause and just jot that down so you know where to submit. And just on another note, so if you enjoyed these webinars and you've gotten this far, well done, absolutely amazing, and we're super excited to see your projects. But just remember that we actually finished the webinar now, but all the series is on YouTube, and it's programming with Python. And we think that if you enjoyed this, you definitely enjoy the Python. It takes you from a very, very basic level to actually quite advanced, doesn't it, Amanda, over the 6 weeks? And with Python, it's actually one of the most common programming languages that's used by coders when they're creating machine learning and AI. So definitely have a look at that. You can see that our current series link is down here if you want to learn a little bit about Python programming. And with that being said, good luck, everyone. So remember, your submission is for June 12th. So we're super excited to see all the ideas that you have, and see ya. Bye.
Best of luck, everyone.